All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters San Jose Qualifier. As we apologize for a little bit of the downtime that's occurred here, but obviously we had to wait for the other winners semi to fully play out, and unfortunately QXC had a few problems during all of this. But now, unfortunately for him, he did actually lose to Scarlet, which means Scarlet advances onto the Intel Extreme Masters San Jose, and QXC now falls down to the lower bracket and is going to be playing against Kelzhur for his first game down there.
Yeah, and Kelzhur did already play against QXC earlier on in this tournament. The result was 2-1 in the first round of the winner bracket for QXC. Kelzhur taking a game, which to me kind of indicates that this could definitely go either way in this TvT.
All right, so things look ready to go. Catalina is going to be our first map here. It is approaching 6 AM in Europe here so far, so bear with us, guys.
Red Bull is our friend today.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to get into this best of 3 in a second between these two, QXC and Kelzhur. And overall, the way QXC has been playing out his TvP and TvZ have been very, very long-winded games. So I haven't really seen much of his TvT. It is one of the matchups that can end kind of earlier, but if his other matchups are anything to go by at the moment, this one could go long as well.
We'll just have to wait and see. We're starting things off here on Catalina. This is a map where we often do see shorter games play out. We see a lot of Gas first openings and a lot of Reaper openings on this map. So we'll have to see what these two guys do end up going for. And, well, Kelzhur, as we said, we didn't really catch the series between these guys earlier on. I'm kind of interested to know like whether or not he took a macro game or so. Because, I mean, there are a couple build order wins that you can pull off in TvT now and then. But Kelzhur is a very strong player. He finished, I believe, last season rank 8 in the North American Grandmaster ladder. So he's definitely, even though if you haven't heard of him, you definitely should not be underestimating this guy going into this series.
No, definitely. We saw him at the Intel Extreme Masters Sao Paulo at the start of the year, where he didn't do terribly. That's a bad way of phrasing it, to be honest with you. But overall, you don't expect these kinds of guys to, perform all right at these tournaments. Yeah. He was able to go through the open bracket. He found his way into group stages. He won himself a little bit of cash there at the Intel Extreme Masters, so that's good. But him going up against, QXC is really going to be his true test here.
Yeah, for sure. This. And looks like we are almost loaded on into the game now, guys. And there we go. Map has begun.
All right, so let's get into it. Map number 1 between Kelzhur and QXC as we have spawning up to the north. It's our purple Terran. It is Complexity's QXC. And down to the bottom right-hand corner, it's our blue Terran. It is Kelzhur, who, unfortunately for him, has spawned in quite the scary spot in TvT on this map. Lots of airspace at the back, so he might not want this one to go too long in the end.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what these guys do opt for. Of course, this is a 3-player spawn map, so neither of them knows the location of their opponent quite yet here. And, well, this, as I was saying before, is a map where we do often see Gas first come into play, so I would really not be surprised to see at least one player opt for that kind of a strategy. And in the next couple of seconds, we'll be able to see just what they're going to be considering going for.
Yeah, we already see Kelzhur walling off with his supply depot. This is where heroes are born. They were saying that in the chat before. But QXC has actually put his supply depot on the left-hand side. And in the end, this might mean... In the end, this might mean that he will put his factory as well as barracks on the front, eventually fly those over there to block any kind of run-ins that's going to go on. Well, okay. But it has been a Gas first from Kelzhur overall.
Yeah, and we do have a what looks to be a Reaper opening coming out of QXC here with the racks into Gas. So basically what this is going to allow for Kelzhur is that as soon as his racks finishes, he'll have just enough gas to be able to throw down that factory, and then from there, he'll likely go straight into a starport as well. And on this kind of a map, generally we'll see either a Banshee come out or a Raven coming out to counteract the potential Banshee that he might be reading into his opponent potentially throwing at him.
Yeah, from QXC side of things, if he's going to do that wall off with the kind of barracks and factory play, the starport always becomes the focal point, right? So we'll see if he wants to do things with that. Meanwhile, both players are scouting the wrong direction, so that's a little bit sad for them, and they'll bump into each other and be like, whoops, well, that didn't go very well.
Yeah, and we do have the Reaper coming out. That's going to be the main source of QXC's scouting information, as you did mention the SCV went in the wrong direction. Factory well underway now for Kelzhur, and still just sticking on just one gas, looking fairly normal. And the question is going to be just what he opts to follow that up with. Whereas over on the QXC side of things, we have a Reactor following up that first Reaper. So just a single Reaper coming out here for QXC. This, of course, does have the potential to get a little bit of harass done, but it is mostly going to be coming over just to make sure he knows what his opponent is up to.
Yeah, greedy build, greedy play by QXC overall, who is going to be heading on in there, having a look around. But now he's absolutely has to believe that something aggressive is going to come. His opponent has already seen the command center, so this is good repair actually there by Kelzhur to soak up a few more shots off that SCV, but then will get pushed away.
Yeah, with 3 Marines, he should be able to ward off this Reaper, but QXC, of course, with the regeneration of the Reaper, can do some damage to those Marines, and damage that won't be repairable until those medevacs start to come out of the starport. Meanwhile, factory's on the way here for QXC as well, and with the tech lab coming up here on the barracks, this could be for a switcheroo onto the starport. I'm assuming that's most likely. Man, this Reaper is really doing some work.
Yeah, really getting in there. And the Helion's out now, so it has very, very limited time to stick around. In fact, it's gone, so...
Still, though, 2 kills and a whole bunch of denied mining time. That Reaper was a very, very good Reaper indeed. And, of course, it does manage to see the fact that there is a bit of a 1-1-1 opening coming out of our Brazilian player who is going to be opting for Cloak here.
Yeah, so those Banshees looking to... Oh, he actually cancelled Cloak.
Okay, opting for a Raven instead.
Huh. That's kind of interesting overall from what he's seen against his opponent. If he goes with Raven and say, is he getting into the tech lab? No, he's just getting the reactor. So I was expecting him to actually just stick with the Banshee there and try and do something with that. Because, I mean, look at what QXC has. Really limited units. Only 3 Marines were stationed at the front. A few more have joined, obviously. So he's up to the 6 now. But aside from that, it wouldn't have been too much. Maybe he goes for the Viking. Yeah, he's going for the Viking. So QXC's build is completely tailored to the defense.
All right, so QXC now finds himself in a really nice position insofar as his orbital command was already done morphing by the time the actual natural command center of his opponent started being built. He is producing 3 missile turrets here, so that's a bit of an expenditure that he didn't really need to go for, and he is going to complete them. Sometimes we'll see players cancel the building of it or stop the building of it just 1 second beforehand so they can finish it or cancel, but QXC opting to play safely. And that's a decision I like because QXC should be considered the favorite going into this series.
Yeah, that's a really cool play actually that you mentioned there with the potential of just, you know, getting it to 99% and then making it later if you really feel the need to go for it. But in the end, QXC is probably just going to be trying to macro this one out. And he can put on himself own drop pressure because the spawning positions allow it, because there is so much room for Kelzhur to ever cover in his main base. And the Raven sticking around at the back here for Kelzhur really shows an indication himself of, you know, playing quite defensive too, but Viking is looking for that Raven or anything, and it's not going to find it. The Marines should be able to ward away.
Now, QXC is moving forward to the Widow Mine here. If this can do something, this is not where you expect your opponent's Widow Mine to be. Yeah. This could result in a lot of splash damage on potentially clumped up Marines. Now, another thing to note is that both players are going into Marine tank-based compositions. So we're going to be seeing essentially a very, very mirrored build, mirrored game there. Widow Mine reveals itself, picking off an SCV that may have been going over to put a 3rd on location.
Yeah, it may have been. It was certainly heading over in that direction, so that's a good little stop and denial of that, but overall, the Raven being there, helpful indeed. Kelzhur, if he was going for a 3rd on spot, though, that was incredibly greedy, so...
QXC now knows that he was probably considering that, unless QXC didn't see what it was that died.
True.
There is a chance he might know that there is at least the thought in Kelzhur's mind that there is a 3rd, and of course, that's not on location anymore. Whoa! Okay, Kelzhur moving out with 2 tanks and a medevac, 8 Marines and another one. It's gonna be spotted. This is a weird drop here.
It's a weird direction. I wonder if he's... Where's he gonna position these siege tanks? Is he actually gonna try and go into the natural? This is really difficult.
I don't know if this is gonna work with the siege up coming from QXC, but they're out of range.
Yeah, the siege up, and he's bringing down one of those siege tanks pretty fast. Overall, the auto turret's trying to soak up some of this damage as well. They did do quite a bit. One siege tank at the back, holding on strong. And will continue to lead its life, but overall, I mean, how much has this really done? This has been pretty close overall.
Overall, QXC has lost more in the way of resources by a solid 600 or so. The rest of this should be cleared up now. If that medevac survived, he's sending it home, but I kind of would have liked to see him take the tank with him. But the tank actually manages to get another tank kill before going down. So I think this was a successful attack from Kelzhur. Overall, he's lost 500 less resources than QXC at this point. He killed off even a couple of workers with that as well, which evens out the worker count a little bit more. He's down by about 3, but that'll be easily caught up by this third command center as soon as it finishes morphing.
Well, the Vikings are still on the hunt, on the prowl, looking for that Raven. They would love to get that pickup. It would be very nice. The Reaper's back in again for a little bit of fun. But those 2 Vikings will get zoned out.
This is so cool, actually. He made another Reaper to come and scout again. That's something you don't see very often from Terran players.
Was that second Reaper? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the other one did go down earlier to the Hellion.
Oh, fair play. Well, oh yeah, it did, didn't it? That's you.
It's getting late over here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, at least now Kelzhur is actually flying over to his third base and prolonging this game out longer. And again, this is really showing that, Kelzhur, for a lot of people that don't know, he's a Brazilian player. And you don't really get to see the Brazilian players a whole lot in tournaments of this high caliber. And he's basically made it to like the top 4, top 5 of this tournament here. And that's pretty impressive.
Wow. We have landed Viking harass coming out of QXC.
Oh, jeez.
This is something that we don't see very often. Landed Vikings, it turns out, are actually pretty good against Marines. They do actually quite a bit of damage here. Picking off 3 workers, 3 Marines. 1 Viking lifts up and leaves. The other one is continuing to do damage. Up to 6 kills, lifts up, leaves and survives. Between those 2 Vikings, that's 9 kills.
And he sees his siege up here, so he's actually going to try and pick up a lot of this army and go into the main base, which is quite vulnerable, actually, on this left-hand side. There's no vision here either.
Oh, man, that SCV building, the CC doesn't even see it. The tanks are going to get to siege up here for free. And this is a really nice position to be in. There is already a siege tank near the mineral line in the main, but
really
this is going to be tough to break.
Yeah, especially with auto turrets that can go down in this location as well. He could even go for PDDs once those Vikings reappear wherever they may be. But 3 siege tanks just slowly pushing away the infrastructure is really irritating. Not only that, but he could just pick up move one of those siege tanks forwards just a little bit and then cause a lot of problems. But that was one siege tank is causing minor irritation.
Oh, that was really nice. He drops the couple of auto turrets, focus fires down the injured Viking. And there is still another Viking here, but there's almost enough energy for another auto turret if he so desires.
Oh, the Marines, they almost killed that Viking. It was at 1 health. Oh, but he loses the Raven in the end.
Killing off the Viking, loses the Raven. Either way, we see some really cool, nice little small micro tricks coming out of both these guys. QXC is going to try to break it now.
The Marines going to support this quite nicely. In fact, they're actually not shooting at all during all of that. So that went a little bit better for QXC than I was expecting.
Everything was on hold position. Even that last medevac was not just stopped, but hold positioned. And that's a big slip up by Kelzhur. He could have taken a lot more of that army with him there. He has a drop over to the right-hand side, but that was spotted by a Marine. He's opting to take it home instead of attempting to actually go for it. And from here, 6 tanks against 2. That's a gigantic tank lead in this TvT. And as we know, tank leads in TvT are so critical.
Yeah, he can just position himself between the third base and the natural overall and really make a problem of himself if he wants to. But he may, if he wants to try and push up into the main base. That's kind of risky, though, because there is this sensor tower. This is quite ballsy, I gotta say.
Oh, but he's going for it. He assumes that because the sensor tower is there won't be any actual units in position. That's a lot of tanks to siege on up. Those Marines don't take any of the shots quite yet.
But it's 7 tanks to 2.
Yeah, how do you break this?
I mean, is there any Vikings out for either player? No, there isn't. So not even Kelzhur can have like an air advantage, and he could even get combat shields during all of this as well. He's gonna get the command center, wow, and he's forced to pick up everything and try and drop it on this army, but this could be disastrous here for him.
Meanwhile, there was a drop at the natural of QXC, which was shut down completely. Kelzhur running out of options, down to half supply in this mirror matchup. Never a position you want to be in, obviously. And from here, QXC is powering forward, trying to take game number 1 right here, right now.
Yeah, he's on top of the production facilities. GG, well played. QXC takes game number 1 in this best of 3. And that means he's now 1 game away from moving on for the deciding match against Violet.
That he is. And I mean, we've seen some really strong TvZ out of QXC so far, especially against Scarlet in those first 2 games. So that would be a really interesting match. I mean, Violet, if he had to play against QXC, there is a very real chance that Violet could not make it out of this all non-Korean qualifying bracket.
Yeah, he is the only Korean here. So, and again, a lot of people were looking at him as the favorite. He went down in that winners 2 major 3-2. Scarlet was able to take the second spot in that winners bracket as well at 3-2 against QXC, who really put up a fantastic fight and was having a few issues. Probably could have, I mean, we're looking at the form of game number 1 and 2, probably could have taken it all if he wasn't for suffering from those issues. But we're here now. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. What matters is what's going on here on merry-go-round, as QXC is currently leading 1-0.
Now, interesting thing to note, we had the other 3-spawn map last time around, and we're getting the second 3-spawn map in merry-go-round this time around. And it may have the same number of spawn locations, but merry-go-round plays out very, very differently here. An interesting, kind of the biggest difference, I would say, is just the lack of airspace. There's a lot of dead space on this map, but it's covered by those sort of air force fields, whereas Catalina has so much dead space around the main and the natural that you can really do so much more with drops on Catalina than you can here.
All right, well, countdown has begun as Mr. QXC is saying, as long as it's just so it's clear, he has nothing against Kelzhur. He was just annoyed at the DDoSes earlier. And we know that. Everyone knows that. Yeah. Of course, that's how these things are here. Everybody in QXC's situation would be a little bit frustrated during this. But he's one up. It doesn't matter at this point because he's currently winning.
He is successfully bathing in Kelzhur's blood.
Yeah, currently. Half of it, at least. Now, can he claim the other half is a big question.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. Kelzhur is going to try to stop the bleeding here on merry-go-round.
He can try. He can try. But QXC looked really, really good in that game.
He really did.
All right, so let's get into it then. Game number 2, as we have spawning down to the south. It's our purple Terran, currently 1 game up. It is QXC. And up to the top right-hand corner, we have our blue Terran. It is Kelzhur.
All right, so merry-go-round. This is a map that I haven't seen too much TvT on recently, but this one is a map that I have some very fond memories of TvT on this map. This is a map where Balloon was able to successfully defeat Bomber at Home Story Cup 8, I believe it was.
Uh-huh.
So I always have an affinity for 2Rax Reaper on this map whenever somebody busts that out. So part of me is hoping for that here.
QXC, wow, he really likes to put his supply depot up in arbitrary locations.
I really like it.
Corner.
I don't know about like the first depot, but like I like that he has vision of his base for the later stages of the game.
That didn't work out too well.
No,
no, when that drop came along.
That's true.
But yeah,
maybe it's like a luckily arbitrary location this time.
To be fair, though, to QXC in that previous map on Catalina, the main's very, very big.
Yes, it is.
So missing something like that, even with arbitrary supply depot locations, can still be done overall.
Now we've got gas first by both this time around. Kelzhur opting for it for the second time in a row. QXC not going to be going for that Reaper this time. And this is always very, very interesting to see how this turns out because we can see Banshee versus Banshee where that can get things a little bit crazy. We can see Banshee versus Raven, in which case the Ravening player tends to have a pretty solid advantage. And every now and then we have Raven versus Raven, which is both of them anticipating potential Banshee play. And that also can end up being a little bit weird in a very, very different way than we tend to see from the Banshee versus Banshee kind of games.
Well, that barracks is going to finish up in just a second here. And Kelzhur is looking to just rally Marines out to the front, keep himself well defended overall. And I don't mind this from Kelzhur here.
I like that he's actually going for the SCV scout. That's something that QXC did last game that he's not opting for this game. So Kelzhur now knows this was a gas first, which to me says that that'll probably prompt him to go Raven rather than Banshee because he knows that there's definitely the potential for QXC to go Banshee. On the other hand, QXC knows he's been scouted, so maybe he decides not to go Banshee.
Yeah.
This is always such a weird situation up until actually seeing what units are getting produced.
And we have the second gas about to finish up here in just a little bit for QXC. And it's on the way here for Kelzhur as well. Starport on the way. Very, very standard opener overall from what we're normally seeing in the metagame right now of TvT. Everyone loves these earlier gases, loves to put on pressure. Banshee for me is kind of a scary unit on this map because it can get like pinned in really odd locations against the sky wall. But other than that, as long as you're able to control properly, you should be fine.
Yeah, and I'm very interested to see what these guys do go for here. And Off the back of this, I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them transition into a Marine tank, or at least something tank-centric, since there is the tech lab there already. I'd love to see one of them try mech, just because mech TvT is very, very fun. And one of my favorite things in TvT to watch is bio versus mech. And we do have a Raven coming out here from QXC and a Raven coming out from Kelzhur. So both of them opting for the defensive play.
Well, Kelzhur is also actually going for a Widow Mine here. And one of my favorite things in the world in TvT, Mr. Penguin, is putting that Widow Mine right behind the refinery. Just in case a Banshee was to come along.
That's so rude.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Shush. Just pretend it's not there, like everyone else does. But the thing is that it's so cool. It's so brilliant. I love it to death, and I hardly ever see it.
Yeah.
Because if a Banshee flies in, it actually just has a huge stop put on its time, because it's going to get hit. It's going to be at like 5 health, and then what are you supposed to do? Not a whole lot.
Well, QXC trying to scout for the first time. That didn't go too well as Marines greet the Hellion there not too warmly.
QXC is delaying his command center by quite a bit here.
He really is.
With these tanks on the way.
With this reactor coming onto the barracks, he may be looking to go for a one-base push.
Yeah, he may do, but at the same time, Kelzhur is already getting a siege tank count. So, yeah, it's not really going to work out too well. The fact that he lost that Hellion at the front, and what did he really see? Let me just quickly check. He saw the command center. That's, overall, he just thought, well, you know, don't really want to do this. If he shuts it down, then he's going to be in far more better economical position than I am.
So the trade-off that we have here so far is that Kelzhur has a faster command center, and on the other side of things, we do have a faster first tank from QXC. So he has about a half tank advantage in the tank count here, and that's where his advantage is really lying so far. And he's already started producing medevacs. He's got one out already, whereas the starport from Kelzhur up until now produced a Viking and then a reactor. So no medevacs out on his side of the map just yet.
And that command center finishing up, getting good to go. With all of this engineering bay actually going down here for QXC, so really wants to get those upgrades flying. I love to see this. Love it, love it, love it, because this is where a player like QXC can really make up those little advantages earlier on. Wow, another command center from Kelzhur. He's playing a very demo style, oh, did that scan just see these meta? Oh my good God. That was the sickest of scans. He saw no natural and saw this moving out, so no way, Jose, is he going to be getting in to that. You see what I did there? No way?
Yes, I saw that.
That was brilliant.
Well, we do have 2 tanks sieged up here. QXC, though, looks like he may be... Oh, that Raven sees it, too. Yeah, this is completely shut down. And QXC's not going to be able to break on in here. And his own scan, though, I believe it did see the second CC. So he knows that there's double CC here. He knows that he's got to do something because his opponent is going super heavy on the greed.
Well, I mean, if he establishes himself here, he could probably just contain for a little while. He has to be careful about the idea of Vikings, though, because his opponent is already one up. And
Kelzhur's immediate response is to lift up a medevac and try to go cross-map with it.
Well, can make that work as well. There's going to be plenty of Marines and tank to be able to shut that down.
Oh, that poor Marine.
Sacrificed. Poor little fella. But look, I mean, he drops the scan up to the top. He sees what's going on. He sees that the third command center is just about to be finished, and his opponent can't really break out. Vikings are really important. This one that he has is very important. Oh, wow. He doesn't see that drop.
No, I wonder if he noticed the lack of units there. Oh, man. He does get 1 SCV and managed to boost out. And I like this, but it's so easy, as you mentioned before, talking about the Banshees, it's so easy to get pinned in really awkward locations with medevacs, Banshees, anything flying just because of those skywalls here. And we do have this drop trying to get a little bit of something done here. With the tank sieging up, this shouldn't get too much done here. He does lift up and boost away once again. 2 Marines going down. Overall, this has traded positively.
And it was important for him to get out at that point because the Viking was just about to pop out from QXC. As he sends a medevac forwards, has a look at his opponent, and sees that he's at an economic advantage because he has his natural up and running nice and fast, whereas Kelzhur is still contained. And the only way to break out of here really is to push down the ramp and drop some Hunter Seekers. Double, that will kill that tank.
Oh, QXC doesn't notice, and the splash should actually kill a couple Marines. No, but he does get the tank. Really nicely done, and from here, he busts on out, kills off the second tank, and Kelzhur is really going strong here. He's got 3 tanks of his own. But the Marines may actually have enough to push this back. Good drop micro here from Kelzhur will allow him to still break out of this without losing any of those tanks.
Yeah, that was so important to save those tanks, because behind this we have QXC with still 4 tanks against the 5 that we're currently seeing from Kelzhur. Any tank he would have got in that trade would have been brilliant, because he's still up in terms of economy, as he's now only just establishing his natural base. So
this is actually really big, because Kelzhur, as a Terran player, has been forced to mule that main base this whole time. We're 12 minutes in, and he's down to under 500 minerals on each of these mineral patches. He's going to start mining out very quickly.
He is, and then he's going to feel pretty much heavily contained here against QXC, who's happily still mining away from his natural. We have that obviously on the other side of things here from Kelzhur, but it is slower, and some of the SCVs just aren't working at all.
Yeah, that was a little bit strange, but he does fix that up now. And anyway, from here, we do have a sensor tower already established by Kelzhur, and he is dropping on the other side of the map as well, picking up a supply depot. Is he going to get up and leave? Yep. Supply depot for a Marine. Oh, that was cute.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this is so cute.
Oh,
okay, that one
Kelzhur.
wasn't quite close enough, but... Oh, he actually got the depot with that. Wow.
Yeah. That wasn't
That
actually
was
even just
so
cute. That was
cute.
actually sexy.
That was so smart.
Yeah, that was very nice.
Kelzhur is my new favorite Brazilian player.
Yeah. Well, I think it was kind of strange for me from QXC to actually add on those supply depots right next to where the drop was attacking. It's like, well, yeah, you killed a supply depot. I'm going to add them on right next to you as well. And then Kelzhur took full advantage of that. So that was really cool. Whilst we have now this movement out from QXC, who is supply. Both players are supply blocked, actually. A little bit rough, a little bit rough.
Kelzhur only now starting up the supply depots, actually. He may want to consider having some call downs.
Yeah, yeah.
He's opting to try to take a third. Not the best time to be taking a third with QXC moving out here, and QXC is going to look to establish himself here. He has 5 tanks against the 7 of Kelzhur. Kelzhur is unsieged. He's very clumped up with his tanks as well. Is he in range? That one tank could go down, and it does. But overall, the tanks of QXC are also in range. One at the front will go down for him as well. Overall, Kelzhur down in supply by about 13. He's still sitting on 3 CCs compared to just the 2 orbitals of QXC. He has a 3rd CC, but it hasn't yet been upgraded.
Well, +1's on the way here for Kelzhur. And we already have that +1 done for Mr. QXC. He's sending out extra drops on this right-hand side, but it's going to get spotted by a Viking as soon as it enters that vision range of the sensor tower. Very difficult to really get stuff done, but QXC is the kind of guy that's just going to poke and even draw his opponent's attention away from the main base and then try and go in, but there's enough units already there for Kelzhur, so I don't think this will do too much at all.
Kelzhur has a really nice spread here. Oh, QXC. Oh, QXC.
Oh, where's he going?
He's sneaking past.
How is he? How is
Oh
that
my
possible?
god. This is
he's
so
gonna cut
bad.
reinforcements.
Now he establishes a really nice siege location here. The drop's not able to get on in. He is opting to kind of flank here from the right. Are the tanks going to be able to hold this? One tank getting low. He will hold on the south side, but on the northwest, this is such an awkward position. The Viking, though, should get rid of the range, the vision range medevac. Meanwhile, the drop comes in.
There's a siege tank there as well. I don't think the Marines were really expecting that as he pushes on through. He's trying to get himself on top of this production line once again, and also he's cutting the reinforcements off between the 3rd and the natural. So this is getting a little bit sticky once again for Kelzhur, who has been outmaneuvered by QXC, who has constantly used similar tactics to this in every single one of his matchups, because he's just so on top of his army positioning at so many intervals.
QXC's macro continuing to be fairly impeccable as he moves out to join his forces with another tank and a whole host of Marines. 22 more coming across the map. Kelzhur, I don't know how he breaks this location. This is such an awkward spot to be in. The Viking's doing a good job poking away at the medevacs, which is nice, but he's going to need more than the occasional medevac kill to kind of get his way back into this game.
Well, Autoturret's going ham on a few of these SCVs as well, so right now he's killed 9 workers off compared to all of that. There was a slight skirmish here thanks to the fact that this Viking actually has vision, which is really, really good for him here, but and he's trying to go for a little bit of a drop on the south side as well. Wait, is he going to try and flank? There's this army that he doesn't know
Kelzhur's
about.
unsieged in the middle here. He's been forced back by some tanks on the high ground. These 3 tanks do survive. They're all very, very low. Oh my god, that medevac is playing with fire. It's alive with 2 tanks in it, but 1 Viking shot will pick that off if the Viking can chase it down. Meanwhile, an attack here on the 3rd base of QXC is going to do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, and QXC was sending in a medevac drop worth of Marines to actually take down a lot of these siege tanks. on the third base, which is a really good move here. He's going to lose quite a bit of his army, though, in the middle. So really, really kind of back and forth TvT here. Kelzhur playing out of his mind to try and keep up with QXC, who had position advantage before, but Kelzhur, wow, he's keeping up. He's keeping up pace.
He really is. I love how long these auto turrets last. These 3 auto turrets from when he cleared up that tank drop about a minute and a half ago, 2 minutes ago, are still standing strong to help deny drops for the next 30 seconds or so.
Army supply pretty even. Worker supply a little bit in favor of QXC, as I don't think he's going to be able to break this frontal location anytime soon. His Kelzhur also has to back up and go back to his own little base. How many tanks do we have? 9 against 5. Wow, Kelzhur has a lot. If he could...
Kelzhur is on a double factor. I guess QXC is as well.
One of them's not working away, though, at the moment.
Yeah, fairly interesting. QXC maintains a supply lead here, but it's very, very small. And it's all in workers, actually. The army supply is slightly in Kelzhur's favor here. Looking at the upgrades, it's 1-1 against 1-1. And actually, Kelzhur finishes +2 weapons first. He's taken an upgrade lead.
Sickest fight of all time. As he's going to head down to the bottom right here and try and establish position on QXC. And he actually might be able to get it with those Marines situating themselves between this third base and the natural once again. This could do a lot of damage.
Concave is so nice here from Kelzhur. The Marines here stimming on forward. They do have an upgrade advantage over the other ones right now, and he has the concave advantage too. But meanwhile, a flank from QXC on the tanks picks off all of those tanks on the low ground. Really nicely done. These Marines, though, in the natural are still going to start doing some economic damage.
Yeah, they got a few workers for their troubles and will be pushed away in the end. But that Viking can get a few medevacs here if he focuses them down really nicely. There goes with the second, and the third will fall. Wow, good job, Viking.
That Viking did sort of make up for its weight in gold there. And overall, workers killed still sitting at only 20 between them. 9 for QXC, 11 for Kelzhur. Kelzhur has been doing better on the consistent production of double tanks. He maintains a tank lead despite losing all of his tanks in that push. 7-5 here. Also a 4 Marine lead. That worker lead here for QXC is almost detrimental, as he doesn't really have as much of a lead as we would think in the army supply.
And for 10 seconds longer, he has +2 weapons over an opponent. I wonder if actually that finished up during the previous fight. Regardless of that, though, Kelzhur still keeping up good pace with QXC. Despite QXC taking a supply advantage now, as you said, it's in the workers for the most part, and sensor towers keep getting...
This auto turret just killed a sensor tower.
What did it really?
Yeah, no cancel on it. Killed the SCV.
Well, you didn't die in vain, little guy. What else is going on?
They're basically just scanning each other and posturing here and trying to outposition. It looks like QXC is going to be the one to find a hole here moving forward onto that 4th base location. Planetary Fortress is far from done. There's the stim forward. Army's out of position for Kelzhur. He's not going to get back in time. The lift is forced, and that's going to go down.
Yeah, there's no way he's going to be able to save that. Even if he sacrificed a few Marines for that, that's a really nice pickup. That being said, though, he doesn't have a 4th base himself. Shelling away with those siege tanks as he dropped the scan and got a few volleys off. And oh, wow, QXC has taken a significant supply advantage now.
Absolute brutality there, as a lot of those Marines went down for free. And with this next wave coming from the south, Kelzhur just doesn't have the units.
The 3 Marines spotted it in the middle of the map, and he actually had to pull back with the majority of his army up on this ledge, because if he'd have got sandwiched by the army here of QXC, that would have been disastrous. But QXC's not being as aggressive with his push forward.
Oh, this is bad. Kelzhur is so clumped.
Yeah, those Marines were really badly clumped on that right-hand side. He lost a few of the siege tanks to QXC, but he's actually going to try and push into this third base, realizing, though, that he can't, as Kelzhur is well set up. Tried to even go for the drop on top of them, but notices that there's a ton of Marines there to be able to deny that.
Somehow, Kelzhur maintaining an almost even army supply count. He's down, now that those just spawned, he's down by about 20, but all things considered, he's still doing fairly well. These 3 Marines stim past and get a couple of extra worker kills as well. Kelzhur doing some pretty nice harass. This drop from QXC will do absolutely nothing, losing 5 Marines.
And Kelzhur trying to break out through the middle as well. Yep. He has to be very careful, though, because that army, with its siege position, is still quite strong, especially if it brings his reinforcements forward as well. Separating things up a little bit and slowly positioning his tanks better, but tanks count right now is 12 against 9, but there's 30 extra Marines out here for QXC.
We have the Marines closing the distance against some of these injured tanks there on the north-hand side, but the tanks survive for long enough to hold their position. In from the right comes Kelzhur, and he will be able to break this small contain. He's still down in supply, though, as the next wave from QXC is already readying itself and coming across the map.
It's interesting how he plays it, because he's not QXC isn't reinforcing that aggressively with his army to just try and establish an even firmer hold on this kind of choke. So he's just allowing his opponent to trade against fortified siege lines, and then hoping that his reinforcements behind all of it are going to be higher in supply, which technically they are, because he has the income. Again, it's still 3 base against 3 base, technically, but the bases are almost mining out almost everywhere.
2 more additional command centers have been completed by Kelzhur, and he's flying one back over to the north 12 o'clock location to re-expand. But here we have another fight in the south side.
Doesn't want to be going too far. Look at that. I mean, the supply counts are pretty even now, but again, a lot of that is made up by the fact that there's 10 extra workers out for QXC here, so army supplies a little bit in favor of Kelzhur.
I think Kelzhur, at this point, should be fine to just defend. He's taking a 4th. QXC is not. QXC does not even have a 4th command center ready.
Yeah.
For his 4th, he'll have to float his main out, which he's going to do now, but that's going to take a while.
He's actually going up to the top left here, so he can put pressure on towards his opponent's bases that he's expanding towards, which is nice. I like that a lot. Tank count still 10 to 8, and actually the Marine count is in favor here of Kelzhur as well. But after taking that volley from the watchtower, that was not a good position there for Kelzhur at all. Oh, and the 3rd base is going to go down if he's not careful.
Oh, the planetary's not ready yet. He has to repair. Where's the mass repair? It's not in time. And QXC taking out that base again. There is kind of an extra command center sitting here, so he can reestablish that sooner than he otherwise would be able to, but it's still a painful blow for Kelzhur.
Yep, and that 4th base is going to be establishing itself on the left-hand side, as it is his main command center just flying over there. Kelzhur, though, looking to push down the right. Try and do something there, maybe? No, I think he feels a little bit stuck, I'll be honest with you, because of the amount of command centers he's lost on that left flank.
Oh, this could actually be big. QXC could lose a big chunk of his army for free, and he will. Kelzhur, that's a very big win for him there.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. He's still got to deal with the army pushing through the middle. Army supply is very, very even indeed. 3-3 is done for Kelzhur compared to only 3-2 for QXC, who is rushing in, looking to take an engagement, but has to be careful. He doesn't quite have the tanking ability here.
Tank advantage still slightly in Kelzhur's favor with 10 to 9. I feel like Kelzhur thinks that 4th base for QXC must be located over on the right-hand side, and he wants to push it. He hasn't seen the 4th up to the slight north of QXC's base, and
yeah,
in seeing that there's nothing here, he should now know that it's not going to be there and that it must be in the other location. But I actually feel like this, if Kelzhur can take control of the middle of the map, he can start to lay siege to this very easily.
He's going to move over with the 3rd command center again. Over to the 4th, but there's going to be Marines there trying to poke it down. They don't know it's not there yet, but as they see this small force rendezvousing over here.
Kelzhur is sick of losing this. He's actually going to locate 2 tanks there on a permanent basis now up until at least until that planetary fortress is finished.
Well, he has to. I mean, he cannot keep consistently losing that base, and if he gets +2 weapons out for the siege tanks, that'd be amazing for him. But he's already walking into the watchtower position, which is not very good for him. His siege tanks were leading the charge. A lot of them get gunned down instantly, and this could be a disaster here for Kelzhur.
And it is a massive supply advantage here for QXC now. A drop coming into the 4th for Kelzhur, and there's nothing there to defend this, but this is, I mean, this needs to do a lot of damage for him to really try to come back into this. I mean, he needs an army advantage now. The biggest advantage he had was that his army was always around the same size, but...
Oh, even focuses down. The medevac gets a big army supply clump in that, and... I mean, again, the story of this game really has been QXC controlling the watchtower, and unfortunately Kelzhur pushing into that location and losing a big chunk of his army. So he now needs to find stability in his 4th base up to the top left, but QXC just keeps outmaneuvering him. Yeah, up until maybe now. No, doesn't even get the siege up on the high ground.
Kelzhur tries to do something clever there, but it doesn't quite work out. QXC seems to be one step ahead this entire game.
Uh-oh. The 3rd base. He drops a scan. Man. He splits his Marines.
And again, the planetary fortress is not done yet.
Oh, he's going to lose the siege tanks, and then he's going to lose that command center. It's done. Oh, and realized he has to run away from that. That was just in the nick of time.
Oh, these Marines are misrallied. A couple of those are going to go down for free. Every little pickoff that Kelzhur can manage right now is definitely something. And finally, Kelzhur may have found himself a position where he might be able to get aggressive for once, forcing the lift-off.
What a pull-away, though, in the end.
Yeah.
Being able to save every single SCV at that location. The army on this north position is still looking to try and find units, but overall, Kelzhur realizes, well, I'll just keep sieging up on the low ground here, and that'll make it so you can't actually really mine from this base.
He's forcing QXC over to the left-hand side here, and now both of them are sort of relegated to just one mining base. There's nothing really going on. Kelzhur still has a few mineral patches with low on minerals in the third. Another big fight here coming on in. The siege tanks are out of range of a QXC. Kelzhur is careful, does not overextend. Kelzhur is picking up tiny wins here and there, and it's allowing him to claw back in the army supply.
A lot of long-distance mining going on here as QXC's also flown over to the right-hand side, Tier 2. So unless Kelzhur does something very QXC-esque, which is picking up some medevacs, getting them in alternate locations, like we've seen QXC constantly punish this base up to the north, I don't think Kelzhur is going to be able to punish both the 4th and the 5th. It's going to be very, very difficult, but he has at least established himself good position in the mid.
Kelzhur lifts up one medevac going over towards that left. The QXC scan doesn't quite see it. Where is he going to go? Looks like he's not entirely sure where he wants to go with his medevac. Does he know about the bases? He knows about the base on the right, not about the one on the left. He can assume that that's there, though, having seen the command center lift up.
Very, very close game. Very close as, uh-oh. Well, it's about to get a whole lot less close, depending on who wins this.
Oh, man. This is going to get a bit crazy,
That's
Kalaris.
massive. That's actually massive. And it's just going to turn into a full-out base trade. He's just... Kelzhur's realized, well, where have you got in the middle? So I'll just go straight for that. But if he gets up on top of his production, if he gets on top of this production here, I give advantage to QXC. If you can bring down a lot of these reinforcements whilst your opponent is not on top of your production, but Kelzhur has to seize the advantage now. He has to get on top of his opponent's own production as well.
Now, this is going to be really interesting. I feel like QXC would have had a really nice advantage from having the base on the right-hand side and the base on the left, but Kelzhur is splitting up his forces, taking out that command center on the right. That will go down to this drop. Really nice multitasking here from Kelzhur. He's also sitting on top of the production of QXC right now, and QXC still with a pretty good advantage in the army supply, 130 to 108.
And that's what makes me really, really scared here, because these barracks are going to fly off to the left-hand side. He's going to be able to set up a little bit more infrastructure here as well. He'll need a lot of supply depots, though, if he wants to get any more army supply. But the point is that QXC is killing buildings faster because he has more in his opponent's base, or did have the siege tanks more in his opponent's base. And I'm not sure that this one base up to the top left for Kelzhur is going to be able to fuel him enough to beat out his opponent's superior army right now.
Now, a thing to consider, though, is that Kelzhur is sitting with a planetary fortress up there, whereas QXC does not have the liberty of a planetary fortress. He has only orbital commands, and by that I mean only one orbital command, which could be a saving grace for Kelzhur, but this is going to be really, really tough for him either way. QXC moving on in. There's a lot of tanks in there that can start shelling away at that PF.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure all of this has been seen down to the bottom left-hand corner as well.
Every unit here is so critical. He tries to get a free medevac, almost gets a free tank as well, gets it there at the end, but there is so much here for QXC.
Yeah, those siege tanks being in range of that planetary fortress makes this a whole lot more difficult, and he can't break out of this. It's very, very difficult to do anything at this point for Kelzhur. He's trying to get a base up to the top left-hand corner. It's been spotted by a Marine. His army is way out of position to deal with any of this. This could quite easily go in QXC's favor here.
Yeah, he's picking up a lot of those. Oh, he's going to get the orbital as well, and that is the last town hall structure. There is a building command center over to the right-hand side, which he can finish if he gets an SCV up to it. But this is such an awkward position now for Kelzhur. QXC started to reestablish himself over on the left. He's got 4 tanks sitting there, a whole host of Marines as well. I think Kelzhur's best bet is maybe to try to go in from both sides here. Oh, but QXC's coming in from the north.
I'm a little bit scared that he's actually splitting up his Marines from his tanks here, is QXC, because if he just drops right on top of those siege tanks right now and goes against this...
Oh, Kelzhur. I think he's in one army hockey.
Yeah. SCVs get pulled off the line here to try and hold on against this, but he needs to bring back those siege tanks. If he gets on the high ground, he's going to just destroy it. And actually, he's just taken an amazing engagement anyway. Kelzhur loses way too much during that. GG, well played. And QXC will advance on, but overall, that was a really valiantly fought TvT there from Kelzhur.
Yeah, Kelzhur showing his real TvT prowess there and showing us why he went this far in this qualifier. And I feel like especially with the region-locked WCS next season. This is a guy to look out for in the Latin American scene.
That's very true. That's very true. Him and people like Deacon, who normally go quite far in those Brazilian tournaments, but Kelzhur showed there that he has the chops to play with the best of them in the American region. But that means now we are going to go to a short commercial break, and then when we're back, it's our final series of the night, morning, whatever it is right now. It's going to be Violet versus QXC. Join us very, very soon.